Oh, what is Yevskis, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the GXHockeyCast. We're on episode 120. Eddie Belfour of my hockey show, where once a week I go through all of the major news and what's happenings around the NHL, mainly focusing in on the Leafs and the Calgary Flames. Those are my two favorite teams, but I'll be talking about all 32 teams on this podcast. And we got a lot of goalie talk on this episode. We got Boston goalies are pissed off. We got New York goalies trying to set a new record. And we got injury talk. We're going to do a special look at the rookies of this upcoming season and some potential bounce back candidates as well. But before we get into that, we got to go back to Boston, baby. This story just keeps getting more and more interesting with the Boston Bruins and their goaltender, maybe not goaltender anymore, who knows, Jeremy Swayman. So we have another chapter in this story now with Cam Neely getting himself involved in this situation. Cam Neely having a press conference and was obviously asked about Jeremy Swayman, and he dropped a little tidbit there saying that, Cam Neely has 64 million reasons why Jeremy Swayman should be playing, hinting at the fact that the Boston Bruins' most recent offer was an 8x8. Well, actually, it was apparently a $7.8 million times 8 years. And Cam Neely saying, hey, that's plenty of money. What are you doing? Take the money. Let's get this shit over with. Get your ass in training camp. Get your ass back in net, and let's do this shit. And Jeremy Swayman's camp, not budging at all. So it sounds like Jeremy Swayman's camp at the $9.5 million mark, could be higher, but as far as I can tell, it's $9.5 million is what they're looking for. I mean, they're getting a lot closer than they were. I mean, initially we're at, Boston was at $6 million, Swayman's camp staying strong at $9.5, and Boston now coming up to $8 million. Okay, so what? 8.5, 8.8, $9 million. What's going to get this done? We're getting close, but the more and more that this continues to go on, the more this relationship between Swayman and the Bruins seems to be getting rather ugly, honestly. We can track this back to the arbitration hearing that Swayman had with the Bruins, a year or two ago? So that always kind of can get that ball rolling for a not great relationship between management and player, because those arbitration hearings are rough. It's basically management trying to prove that you're not worth the money, and you're trying to plead your case that, yes, I am in fact worth this money, which means there's going to be a lot of bad talk. Oh, you're not that good. Oh, you guys are cheap. You won't pay me. So yeah, that can kind of plant some permanent seeds that can hurt a relationship long term. And it looks like Swayman has not forgotten that arbitration hearing, and they are staying very firm on what they want in terms of money and terms. So yeah, man, it's getting interesting now, to the point that articles are being written now of potential trade options for the Boston Bruins to trade away Jeremy Swayman. So I think we should take a look at what these trades are potentially looking like around the league. Sportsnet put up a rather interesting article talking about this, and there's definitely some interesting names and some teams that could maybe be in on Jeremy Swayman. I'm not of the belief that Swayman will get traded. I don't think it's that serious just yet. Now, do take in mind that the Boston Bruins and Swayman, they have a December 1st deadline. So after December 1st, if they don't have this contract thing figured out, Swayman can't play this season. He has to have a contract signed before December 1st to play this season. After that, he's going to throw away the whole entire season. And we've seen this before. I'm not 100% on this one, but I think Swayman has the same agent as William Nylander, and William Nylander held out in very, very similar fashion to the way that Swayman's doing it right now, and he signed his contract at the very last second, just before December, and it was a disaster. It was a complete disaster for the Leafs, for Nylander. Nylander signed, he got into the season, and he was so far behind. The season's already months in, and Nylander missed the training camp, and he just wasn't ready. He had a terrible season. He looked awful. And I mean, goaltending obviously would be a little bit of a different situation, but yeah, I mean, it would probably be an adjustment of a few weeks if, say, Swayman signed mid-November. It'd probably take him a little bit, but again, Boston isn't completely fucked here. I mean, I know a lot of people are giving him shit for trading away Allmark before they had the Swayman contract figured out, but they brought in Korpisalo. It's not like they don't have a goaltender, and I know people don't have a lot of belief around Korpisalo considering, he failed in Ottawa, and he had so many ups and downs in Columbus, but this is the Boston Bruins we're talking about here. This isn't the Ottawa Senators defense group. This is the Boston Bruins. I feel confident that Korpisalo could hold the team. I think, honestly, even if Swayman didn't play the whole entire season, I think Korpisalo would be fine. He's not going to be as good as Swayman, obviously, but I don't think he would be the final nail in the coffin that sends the Bruins out of the playoffs. I think he's a solid enough goaltender behind a good defensive team like Boston. I think he would be fine. Preferably, they wouldn't want him to be the number one goaltender, and they don't really have a backup. That's where their problem comes in. It's like they have that Busick guy, but he's unproven. He could be good. We don't know yet. That's what happens with goalies. There's other goalies that they could pick up in a bind, an emergency situation. There's goalies out there. So, honestly, yes. The Boston Bruins should have and could have handled this much better. Absolutely. But I don't think they're fucking completely fucked right now with Swayman, where they have to get rid of him. I think they just gotta have to wait. I don't know, or just give him a little bit more money. I think like an 8.5, maybe 8.8 would get it done. And I don't know, what's an extra $800,000 or $1 million, I guess. And in terms of how much the salary cap sounds like it's going to go up, it really isn't that big of a deal, honestly. I would just get this goaltender signed if I was Boston and get this over with, because it's starting to get ugly. And yeah, man, Swayman just doesn't seem like they're budging at all over there. So very interesting situation going on in Boston. If there's any Bruins fans listening, how you feeling about this right now? Are you more on my side where it's like, I don't know, man, like Korpisalo I think is a good enough goalie that it can hold it. Yes, it sucks we don't have Swayman, but I don't think the season is out the window because Swayman's not in the net. That's my belief. It's the Bruins. They've burned me so many times, so until they suck, I can't really expect them to suck until it happens. So I don't think the Bruins are dead yet, but let's have a little fun and just talk about these potential trade areas that Swayman could potentially go to. And up first is, hold on, we'll find it around here somewhere, the Vegas Golden Knights. I know that is probably one of the last teams that anyone would want to see Swayman going to, because of course, whenever there's a big fish out there that potentially could get traded, Vegas is always circling around, say, what's going on with this? What's going on with this? And yes, Vegas is in cap hell. They're over the cap already, but apparently the theory is if Vegas offered up Adin Hill and potentially a William Karlsson, a nice defensive center that Boston would love. They retain half on William Karlsson. They send over Adin Hill, a Stanley Cup winning goaltender. Is that enough to pry away Jeremy Swayman? I would say fuck no. There would have to be picks, but it's Vegas picks. Do they even have picks? So, yeah. So there would definitely, I don't know, I feel like there would have to be like some sort of deal, something more, obviously. If they have any prospects, they'd probably have to toss that in as well. But then again, I've talked about this before, how goalies don't tend to bring in as much as you think. A superstar goaltender, yeah, I mean, bringing in a starting goaltender and a top six player, I don't know, can you get more for that? I mean, that is the theorized Vegas Golden Knights offer. None of this is true. It's all hypothetical. Next team would be the Utah Hockey Club. I mean, they've made big additions on the blue line, and they could potentially make a trade here for Jeremy Swayman instead of going with what is a pretty, I don't know, not necessarily unproven, but a risky tandem in Carl Vejmelka and Connor Ingram. Yes, Connor Ingram had a ridiculous season last year, but there's not a long track record of that continuing. So if it doesn't continue this season, that's just the way she goes. So they could potentially, Utah, throw in a Connor Ingram or Carl Vejmelka. I mean, Connor Ingram's got more years. Definitely there is some unscratched potential possibly there with Ingram, but it could also just be a flash in the pan, really good season. And then there's Karl Vejmelka, very up and down goaltender, and only has one more year. On top of that, I mean, Utah has a ton of young talent. Now, I would say that people like Logan Cooley, probably Dylan Guenther, since he just signed, Tijja Ginla, he just got drafted. So I think all those guys would be untouchable forward-wise, but they do have a defenseman or two that could be, well, they have one defenseman, Simashev, could potentially be tossed in there, and they also have a big winger, Daniil, also could potentially be tossed in there as well. So just that alone, I think Utah, that would be a better hockey trade. If I were the Bruins, I'd be looking at, all right, we get a nice big defensive prospect, which I think the Bruins could use some more defensive prospects. I like the sounds of that. You get a potential starting goaltender, or at least a goaltender that would pair nicely in a 1A, 1B situation with Korpisalo and Ingram or Vejmelka. And yeah, maybe a pick or something like that, a second, a third, something like that to sweeten the pot just a little bit. I don't hate that trade right there. And then the Chicago Blackhawks. The Chicago Blackhawks could also do a very similar trade. They brought in new goaltender Laurent Brossoit. He could potentially be put in that trade, or a Peter Mrazek. Mrazek obviously carries a salary cap of like $4 million. Two more seasons on Mrazek there as well. And I mean, you got a lot to choose from in Chicago. Now, I would imagine some of the untouchables being the likes of Connor Bedard. That's obviously not going to happen. And then they also have Korchinski and Levshunov, two highly touted defensive prospects for the Chicago Blackhawks. I would imagine that those two are untouchable as well. But they have lots of other names like Frank Nazar, Oliver Moore, and Lucas Reichel. So Lucas Reichel would be the one, if I was the Bruins, I'd be like, nah, no thank you. This prospect has been around for a few years now and still hasn't reached that potential. He's an older prospect now, like 23, maybe 24 years old. So I definitely wouldn't have that much interest in something like that. I can't say I know much about Frank Nazar or Oliver Moore. So I don't know. Out of those three teams, I would think the Utah one looks the most tempting to me. But like I said, I don't believe that Swayman's going to get traded. I don't think it's that dire just yet, but obviously teams are smelling maybe a little bit of blood in the water here, and maybe they could pry away a Jeremy Swayman, an elite goaltender, away from the Bruins while they're, I don't know, maybe blinded with rage and frustration. Something stupid could potentially happen, but what do you think of those three potential trade targets and locations for Jeremy Swayman? Obviously, Bruins fans would be rather upset. I imagine the all NHL fans would be upset if he somehow managed to get to Vegas. That would be amazingly funny. But yeah, man, that's some interesting stuff going on with Jeremy Swayman. The goaltenders want to get paid right now. And speaking of that, let's swing over to the New York Rangers, and their goaltender, Igor Shesterkin, is looking to change the goaltending market. And that comment, if I was a Rangers fan, would scare the fuck out of me, because Shesterkin is looking to become the highest paid goaltender in the league, which other goaltenders haven't been able to do that yet. We're thinking back to Carey Price signing his big contract as a goaltender. Not many goalies are passing that one. You got Bobrovsky. I think Vasilevsky might be just underneath that as well. So what Shesterkin is planning to do is he's hoping to get somewhere around 12, maybe even push it to $13 million a season. And, I mean, Rangers fans, Rangers management, I imagine, seen this coming. Once they signed that first contract, the one that Shesterkin is currently on, which is an absolute bargain. It was like 5 years, $4-something million anyway. That was a bargain, and I mean, they knew that they were going to have to pay the piper after that one, because Shesterkin's been arguably the best goaltender in the league throughout the last few seasons here. He's been dynamite for the Rangers in the playoffs, and he's definitely been one of the big reasons, I can't say the only reason, but definitely a reason that the Rangers at this point are, a lot of people call them contenders, because you're looking at one of the best goaltenders, if not the best goaltender in net, a fantastic forward group, a good defense. So yeah, man, a lot of power and a lot of weight is in not Jeremy Swayman, Igor Shesterkin's corner, because he's unrestricted. He could potentially walk if he wants to, but I don't think the Rangers are in any fear of that. They are already kind of planning things out. It doesn't look like Jacob Trouba will be coming back next season, so there's $8 million freed up. Basically, all of that is going to go to Shesterkin. He's going to, that's what it's going to be. Whatever Trouba's money, once they get rid of that, basically all of that is going to go to Shesterkin. We'll see how much the Rangers are able to maybe grind that number down. I think Shesterkin will end up, after this, be the highest paid goaltender in the league. But what Shesterkin wants it to be, he wants to be like far and above the highest paid goaltender. He wants to be multiple $1 million paid more than Carey Price or Bobrovsky, so he can set a new market for goaltenders. He doesn't want to screw over goalies. He knows he's one of the best, and a lot of goaltenders and a lot of agents are going to be looking at the Shesterkin deal to, compare that to whatever the next goalies are going to be making. The Ottingers, the Joseph Walls potentially one day. So if Shesterkin continues to be the best goalie in the world, it would be tough to surpass that $12, maybe $13 million that he could potentially be getting. But I wouldn't be shocked if they whittle it down to like 11. But regardless, there's that argument where, a lot of people aren't liking the fact that you're paying so much money for a goaltender. Goaltending is extremely important in the NHL, but we've seen it time again that you don't need to have the best goaltender in the world back there to win the Stanley Cup. You just need to have a good goalie. A competent goaltender back there can win you a Stanley Cup with a fantastic team built around them. But what an elite goaltender like Shesterkin can do is take a playoff-bound team and make them potential contenders at any point, because Shesterkin can turn it on and just take over a series if he wants to. He's a very big wild card and would strike fear in a lot of teams going up against them in a 7-game series. So obviously the Rangers have Shesterkin in mind. Very, very important player for them. I feel like they're going to pay him, and they're going to give him a lot of money, and he will become the highest paid goaltender. That's what I think is going to happen. That's the plan, and I think it's going to happen. It's simple as that. But that's the argument. Would you want to have your goaltender making that much money when, they're not in every game. They're not playing 82 games like your superstar forwards are, like a McKinnon or something. So is that fair to pay them as much as those guys that are playing 82 games? Again, goaltending, higher pressure, very, very important role. You are the last line of defense. So yeah, man, there's tons of arguments for both sides, but I think Shesterkin would be worth that money. I think he is one of the few goaltenders that has truly proven himself to be consistently elite. So looks like the Rangers are going to pay the piper for Shesterkin, and that's a lot of fun. And speaking of a lot of fun, you know what's a lot of fun? Rookies. Rookies are a lot of fun. They've been making a lot of waves throughout the preseason. Very, very awful piece of news for the Montreal Canadiens. On top of the Laine situation where Patrick Laine takes a nasty knee-on-knee hit in the Toronto Maple Leafs preseason game. I did see it. Okay, so I know there's a lot of controversy behind it. Arbor Xhekaj attacking Cedric Paré. He gets a fine. It's whatever. I don't really care about that. But we all know that the league is silly when it comes to suspensions and fines and all that stuff. Nothing new there, but Patrick Laine knee-on-knee, that was nasty. Watching that in slow motion and the way that Laine's knee hyperextended looked horrifying. So I don't have a exact amount of time that Patrick Laine will be out. I think I saw that it was going to be month to month, so that is bad. That is very bad news for Montreal Canadiens fans, for Patrick Laine fans, and everything. And on top of that, Habs fans, I got even more bad news for you. Young prospect, something Reinbacher, he's going down for 5 to 6 months after having surgery. I think knee surgery, possibly ankle. That sucks, bro. That absolutely sucks. It wasn't 100% that Reinbacher was going to be on the Canadiens roster this season, but regardless, that is a highly touted prospect in their system having a major injury early on. So that is something to keep an eye on for the future. Watch that injury, see if it continues to be a problem, see how he bounces back from the surgery and everything like that. But regardless, that is horrible news. And again, that pushes the argument of why do we have 400 preseason games? People just get hurt. It's pointless. There's no reason to have 6 to 8 preseason games. It's just fucking ridiculous. I watched 10 minutes of preseason and I was like, I just don't feel it, man. I just don't feel it. Yeah, it's cool. It's a great little opportunity for younger guys and people to figure out where they are in the lineups. But I think, honestly, they did it already during COVID where they had one preseason game. I think 1 to 3 preseason games is plenty. Plenty. It is literally just down to greed. They just want the extra revenue from the preseason games. And the fact that they're charging like $130 for preseason games in Toronto and Montreal is fucking gross to me. So, I don't have any time for preseason. To me, it's just greedy and unnecessary. Like, you have training camps, you have these things to determine what your teams are going to be. And maybe they can just have a more lenient waiver system for the first 10 games of the season where teams could, have 5 extra moves where they could move down guys that are waiver eligible just to get teams set up. Something like that. All I know is that 6 to 8 preseason games is fucking stupid, and I want that shit to end. Maybe start the season earlier, get rid of preseason, and then we can finish the Stanley Cup Finals before fucking August. So that would be cool. Excellent. All right. Get that going. Apparently the season is not an 84-game season either. I heard that was going down this year, but I guess not. I'm guessing that was just a hypothetical at the time. But yeah, dude, I am way super down for... I thought that was happening this season where they were going to shorten the preseason and extend the regular season to 84 games. I'm still down for that plan. Thought that was the execution and the idea for this season. But nope, maybe next year, maybe next CBA or whatever. But cut out preseason, start the season earlier, and let's get this shit going, man. Let's get the season started in September instead of fucking mid-October. Let's get going. I mean, early-ish October. October 9th, I believe, is the real date. I know they're playing some global series or something like that. A couple games in Czechia or something on the 5th. But regardless, let's start this thing off a little bit easier. It's a way too long season already. I know 84 games would make that worse, but they're pretty set on having the seasons be that long. So yeah. Anyway, I'm not a fan of preseason, never have been. But yeah, and that's what happens. Young people get hurt. Patrick Laine is not that young, but still, people are getting hurt. Too many people get hurt. So let's go back to the original plan here and talk about some rookies. So I did the awards predictions for the season last year, and I got a little stumped on the Calder. I just chose Macklin Celebrini because, he is probably the favorite going into the season, but it doesn't mean that he's not going to have competition fighting for that Calder. He may not win it because there is quite a good amount of competition that could potentially challenge for the Calder Trophy race as well. Starting with, where is he? Matvei Michkov, the Philadelphia Flyers. So this guy I have a lot of interest in. I'm pretty excited to see what he's going to do for the Flyers because it does seem like he's got a good chance to crack the top 6. And there's some good players in that top 6. They got Konechny, they got Sean Couturier, they got Owen Tippett. So there's some decent players that he could build a nice chemistry with. And people are thinking this guy could score 30 goals this season, maybe more. And yeah, man, there's definitely that potential because he's a new player. Teams don't really know how to defend or how to deal with this player just yet. So he can come in and just kind of catch the league off guard with his skill and shot. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's in the race for that as well. I am pretty excited to see what Michkov can do. They also have Will Smith there in San Jose alongside with Macklin Celebrini. We could potentially see Will Smith get into the NHL this season. He may not. He is still only 19 years old, so they don't necessarily have to rush him, but we could potentially see Will Smith get into some games this season. You got the Montreal Canadiens. Lane Hutson could absolutely make some waves. I very excitedly drafted this player in one of my fantasies with my second to last pick. He was still available. I'm like, I'm going to take a chance on this kid with the 200th and something overall pick because this guy could potentially, who knows, he could steal the top PP away from Matheson. He could potentially be the Montreal Canadiens' number 1 power play defenseman. He could be that go-to guy. He is incredibly young, but he turned a lot of heads in preseason. Again, it's preseason. It's not It's not the same as NHL hockey, so he could get exposed quickly once he starts going up against the top players in the NHL. So, don't go crazy. Don't think that this kid's going to come out and win the fucking Norris Trophy right away, but I'm excited for Lane Hutson as well. There's a lot of those young defensemen I've been hearing about in Montreal for quite some time, and it looks like this could be the year we start to really see what's going on the Montreal Blue Line. So I'm excited for Lane Hutson. He could be a potential name in there. How about Cutter Gauthier in Anaheim? Philadelphia, they trade him over there. He doesn't want to be a part of the Flyers anymore. So maybe Cutter Gauthier has a little bit of a chip on his shoulder this year to prove to Philadelphia fans, because I know they were upset with him leaving and wanting out and all that shit. Maybe he's got a bit of a chip on his shoulder, I just want to solidify, like, hey, yeah, I was a great player. Don't fuck with me, and I don't know. So he could be a potential somebody. There's so much young skill on the Anaheim Ducks. At some point, you would imagine that it's going to start emerging more. Leo Carlson's going to start getting more games. If Mason McTavish stays healthy this season, yeah, man, you can start seeing a lot out of these young players. There's also another player there in Anaheim on the blue line, Olen Zellweger. So I think he got into some games last season. It looks like in the second half he got into 26 games last year and looked pretty decent right there. 26 games with the Ducks. He was playing he had 2 goals and 7 assists in those 26 games and was putting up about 19 minutes in ice time. So you would imagine he could potentially get a full-time role with the Ducks this season, especially if they decide to trade away people like Cam Fowler. Then that definitely opens the door for players like Zellweger. He's 21 years old now, so seems like the time to get him into the NHL. He is a small defenseman, though. He's 5'9", 182 pounds, so we've seen other small players and defensemen make it in the NHL before, so I'm not going to count him out just because he's tiny, but I'm excited to see another team with a lot of young prospects. I'm very excited to see, the emergence of these new players, man, to see these new names starting to come out. It's a very, very exciting time. So hopefully we get to see some more out of Zellweger this season. Let's try a goaltender. Let's do a goaltender. Why not a goalie? Dustin Wolf in Calgary. My hopes for Calgary are fairly set to pretty low this season. I don't expect, for them to be very competitive into a playoff situation. They've made some changes on the blue line. They definitely got rid of some veterans there. No more Markstrom. A lot of it's a youngish team, man. There's a lot of young players coming up here. I know a lot of those young defensemen were rather impressive throughout the preseason. Again, they should be. These young kids should be wowing us in preseason. That's kind of the goal here. They're not going up against the best NHL competition, so they should be flourishing, and that's a great sign for the Calgary Flames in the blue line. But Dustin Wolf, another a small goaltender. Only 6 foot. Oh, so we're going to be hearing about that forever in Calgary. Oh, they got a short goaltender. 6 foot? 6 foot is not short. I'm not 6 foot. Anyway, Dustin Wolf could and should be fighting for that number 1 role in Calgary with Vladar. They could very well be a 1A, 1B. Now, what we saw out of Dustin Wolf last season wasn't, incredible. He didn't have, a great save percentage or anything. I believe it was rather sub 900. But you can see it. You can see there is a good goaltender there. The team in front of him won't be that excellent this season, so I don't expect Dustin Wolf to make a lot of waves in terms of the Calder situation unless he picks up a lot of wins. If say, Dustin Wolf is able to rattle off 20, 25 wins, yeah, he might be in that conversation, but I think pretty low chances that Dustin Wolf wins it, but he's definitely a rookie goaltender to keep your eye on, especially if you're a Flames fan, because there's a lot of potential and hope for Dustin Wolf. Let's go to Dallas. Let's talk about Logan Stankoven. So this guy we have seen quite a bit. He's barely eligible for the Calder situation, but apparently he still is. 21 years old, another smaller player. He's 5'8", but doesn't play like a small player. He likes to throw his weight around. He's aggressive, and he seems awesome. He already seems like a fan favorite in Dallas in the limited time that he's played, and rather impressive, man. He did pretty good in his limited role there. He was scoring some pretty impressive goals, and yeah, he looked like a fun little player. So definitely going to keep my eye on Logan Stankoven. he's on Dallas, who are a powerhouse offensively, defensively, and he could definitely make a big dent right there, but not thinking that he's going to crack into that top 6 for Dallas, but their third line is rather deadly, and he could be a big part of that right there. All right. We got a Columbus Blue Jacket here, Denton Mateychuk. There you go. The 20-year-old defenseman. All right, they could use some defensemen. Sadly, I don't really know a whole lot about this guy, but Columbus could definitely use some bright spots, and if Mateychuk can crack into their blue line and maybe steal a top 4 role, that would be a huge thing for the Blue Jackets. They would need that. Let's go to Buffalo. We got Buffalo, a pick from the 2022 draft, Yuri Kulich, I believe. Is he a forward? It appears that, yes, he is a forward. He was able to generate some offense in the minors. So, hey, we could see Yuri Kulich crack into the Buffalo Sabres lineup. Again, I don't think there's a whole lot of potential that he is a real challenger for the Calder. We got Josh Doan in the Utah Hockey Club. Been hearing good things about Josh Doan, the son of Shane Doan, which is awesome. I hear great things about this kid's shot. He has a very good shot. So, if you're a Utah fan, keep your eyes out for Josh Doan. That guy could become a big goal scorer for y'all. And let's do one more goaltender in Yaroslav Askarov. Now, he is injured. So there is that thing going around. I don't think he's going to be out for very, very long. And there's also still that idea that he may not be the starting goaltender for the San Jose Sharks. I think, with the skill of Askarov, allegedly, I haven't seen a whole lot of him, but he looked really good and his numbers look great for Nashville. He could easily steal that number 1 job from Blackwood. Like, Blackwood's been struggling. I think they may still have Kakin in there maybe, but he wasn't doing a whole lot, so it feels like it's still Askarov's job to grab. He just has to get healthy and, just prove that he is as good as he thinks he is, so that would be fine. And again, if he is similar to Dustin Wolf, well, he's in a very similar situation where he's not on a very good team, but if he can rattle off somehow 20, 25 wins somehow, which again, that's pushing it. That would be, again, that's insane. So if they did manage to get that many wins, I would have to at least talk about them in that consideration. But again, that is a tough thing to do for goalies on a team that are still kind of in a rebuild, retooling situation. So those are just some of the other prospects that I've been hearing around in the NHL. But there's also other guys that aren't necessarily rookies anymore, but other players like Logan Cooley. His next season, he could pop off big this season. You could see Leo Carlson, McTavish, lots of other guys that, who was the, Connor Bedard. You could see Connor, he had a really good first season. Let's see what he can do with the second. You got to watch out for that sophomore slump as well, where, especially with someone like Connor Bedard, I could definitely see that being a situation where teams are going to really, really start to focus on him, because he is still kind of one of the only big threats on the team, so don't be shocked if Bedard's getting double-teamed more often than not. But I still would imagine with Connor Bedard, the player that he is, he's going to improve this season as well. So, lots of really awesome young players coming into the league, and I am just super excited to see which of these names emerge to be the big ones, especially players during the COVID drafts where, it's been really rough for them, and it seems like some of those or more of those kids are starting to emerge now after a slow start. So we're maybe going to see a large influx of just like COVID prospects blooming late and the new ones coming in right now. So it could be a lot of fun, a lot of young, new, skilled players coming in. I'm excited. And speaking of excited, Philadelphia Flyers fans may be semi-excited with the news that their goaltender, that Koloslav guy, will apparently honor his contract and come over and play for the Philadelphia Flyers. I think last week I talked about how he wasn't going to come. Well, now that's all changed. He is coming. So there you go. He will honor his contract, come over, play for the Flyers until next week when I tell you, oh, never mind, he's not coming anymore. So this continues to be a situation. Again, it doesn't look like Koloslav was going to be the starter or anything. It's all up in the air with the goaltending in Philadelphia right now. They have Ersson, they got fucking other people. So yeah, it's going to be a bit of a headache by the looks of it for Philadelphia Flyers fans and the goaltending. I mean, nothing new, right? It's been that way for a very, very, very long time, since like Ron Hextall, right? So remember Robert Esche? Fucking Roman Czechmanic, anybody? Come on now, let's go. All right. So that apparently is happening. Buffalo Sabres, Rasmus Dahlin has been named the captain. That's the guy that I picked that should have been the captain, and there you go. He's your captain. Makes complete sense to me. First overall pick. He's been a stud for them on the blue line for the last few years, a Norris contender. Looks like he will be a Norris contender perennially, at least for like the next decade. Will he win one? Probably, I would imagine at some point this guy's going to win one, especially if the Sabres start to become better. I think his name will start to be tossed in there with some more seriousness. Like, his name is in there right now, but, people are like, it's the Sabres, But the dude scores like 20 goals. He's a madman. He's a fantastic defenseman, and I'm really down with him being the captain. Makes a lot of sense. And what else makes a lot of sense? Well, Let's talk about something. I don't really do rumors very often, but I heard about this one, and I'm sorry, Minnesota fans, but I'm hearing rumors that potentially Kirill the Thrill Kaprizov may want to go to Chicago. There's rumors out there that he would maybe consider not re-signing and going over to Chicago to play with that Connor Bedard kid and some of those other big prospects that Chicago has over there. And again, this is all rumors. I just heard this, I think, on the Steve Dangle podcast. I think I heard them talking about this a little bit. So there's nothing behind this that is truth. I don't think. It's just something that I heard, and I was like, you know what? That kind of makes a little bit of sense. But I think this season and next is going to be huge for Minnesota, because Minnesota, they're still dealing with the cap recapture or the cap penalties of the buyouts of Parise and Suter. I believe this is the last season they have to deal with that. And as good as Billy Guerin has done navigating those really hard to navigate waters, going around that cap penalty and stuff, he's done a good job. But at this point, Minnesota is suffering from it as a team. Those cap penalties, it's hurting their depth. It's hurting potential players that could have been, re-signed or brought into Minnesota, that they just don't have that money right now. Next season, they're going to be free of that, but they also need to re-sign Kaprizov. I believe it may be next year or the year after that. Those talks are now in that process. Billy Guerin, the GMs, everyone, they're talking to Kaprizov and they want to get a deal done. So now we may start hearing if there is smoke with this rumor. I don't know. I just heard about it, but not to be like, it would be a devastating blow for Minnesota, honestly, because Kirill Kaprizov is without a doubt the most skilled, fucking entertaining player that they've ever had. I mean, Marian Gaborik was really good, but outside of that, like, they really haven't had a lot of flash. Minnesota, for me, has always just kind of been that mid-team. Like, they exist. They don't really do anything all that exciting. One of the big exciting things they ever did was signing Parise and Suter, which ended up causing a lockout and just being a big old fucking nightmare for everybody. So, yeah, Minnesota's been just kind of existing for a long time, and I feel really bad for Minnesota because they got moved to Dallas for no real reason. They just moved them to Dallas, took their team away, and then gave them back a team, but ever since the new Minnesota showed up, there hasn't been a whole lot of excitement until Kirill the Thrill showed up and he started showing how fucking good he was, and his chemistry with Zuccarello was really awesome, and Minnesota had some good years, but still not a lot of playoff success. So it would be devastating to see a Kirill Kaprizov walk from Minnesota and jump over to a team like Chicago that has had first overall pick Patty Kane, a dynasty of cups, only to follow with the fucking Connor Bedard, the next one to fall into their laps. I mean, it would be really frustrating to then watch Kaprizov go join that, and that would feel very much so like Panarin joining Chicago with Patty Kane and Taves and all of that, and winning cups, or a cup anyway. So hopefully that doesn't happen. I would love to see Kaprizov stay with Minnesota, but this is the time. Like, if that is coming out there, then Minnesota's got to do a better job once they get some money to bring in some players to keep Kaprizov happy, make sure that they can make the playoffs this year or next. The sooner the better. The more they miss, the more that wedge is going to get drive with Kaprizov. Like, yo, I'm this talented guy, but I'm stuck on this team that's just not really going anywhere. I got to go. I got to get out of here and try and win something, do something with my life. Or myself, not his. I mean, he's done a lot with his life so far. Look how much money he's made. But yeah, man, that's something out there. I'm sorry I'm putting it out there in the world as well, but it's a believable rumor, man, that who wouldn't want to go to Chicago when you're looking over there right now? You're like, fuck, they got Connor Bedard. They're building something special over there, and maybe you want to get on the ground floor early. Who knows? So we'll see what goes on with the Kaprizov thing. I'll keep my ears open for that one. But yeah, scary sounding stuff for Minnesota. And some scary stuff for Los Angeles Kings fans. Drew Doughty fractured his ankle, and he is going to be missing a few months. So that sucks. That's big suckage for LA Kings fans. Drew Doughty, I know he's not the Norris-winning defenseman that he was years ago, but he's still a really good defenseman. He's still one of the better defensemen in the league. It's just that some new defensemen have passed him, the likes of Makar and Fox and Dahlin and all these other freaking amazing new defensemen. People have kind of forgotten about Drew Doughty. He's still good. He's still the best defenseman in LA right now, well, he was. So they're going to have to deal with that. That is going to be interesting. Now, what could be good with that is a player like Brandt Clarke, a young defenseman still trying to find his spot. And with the opening of Drew Doughty's spot, maybe he slides in there and excels. That could be a silver lining situation for the Los Angeles Kings, or it could be a nightmare. And losing Drew Doughty, the straw that stirs the drink, if you will, that could be really bad for Los Angeles. That's their biggest minute-eating defenseman. That's their guy. So yeah, any team losing their number one defenseman, at the least lost Morgan Rielly, ow. If Edmonton lost Bouchard, ow. If Dallas loses Heiskanen, ow. Colorado losing Makar, ow. So that shit hurts. So obviously LA is going to be suffering from this. That could definitely change the outlook of their season for sure. They could definitely miss playoffs now without Drew Doughty for a few months, or they can rally behind it. Fucking Brandt Clarke comes in, becomes an absolute stud, and then they just continue to go, and then they get Drew Doughty back later, and they just continue to roll. So it may not all be bad, but it is definitely bad news to hear that Drew Doughty got hurt like that, fracturing his ankle. Now, there was a lot of worry that there could potentially be more damage to muscles or ligaments or anything, tendons, shit like that with Drew Doughty. Thankfully, they said it was just a break. It was just the bone. That sucks. But it could have been worse. It could have been worse. He could have damaged some muscle tissue, and that would make the process a lot longer. So, thankfully, it was just the bone, and Drew Doughty fucking took it like a champion. He barely even, reacted to the injury outside of saying, ow, my ankle. That's my ankle. My ankle's fucked, or whatever. So, yeah, get better soon, Drew Doughty. I want you back in the league because you're one of the better characters in the NHL. He's always good for a funny quote. Likes to chirp. Yeah, man, I want Drew Doughty, and also sucks for anyone that drafted Drew Doughty. I did not draft him, and I probably won't now. I have one more draft to do, and I don't think I'll be drafting Drew Doughty, but yeah, sorry for anyone out there that drafted Drew Doughty and then his leg snapped. So ouch, that sucks. And I think with that final piece of bad news, let's talk about some bounce back candidates that could potentially have a good bounce back season this upcoming season. So the thing about being a bounce back candidate means you had a rough season last year, or underwhelming season, disappointing, whatever word you want to use. So I'm not going to pick one from every single team. I'll go through the Hockey Guys list. He does have a player from all 32 teams. I'm just going to pick the ones that really speak to me. Starting with the Detroit Red Wings with Andrew Kopp. Played 79 games last year, only 13 goals, 20 assists, 33 points. I expect a lot more out of Andrew Kopp than that. Hopefully he can get up to the 50-50 point range. 20 goals would be great. I mean, I loved Andrew Kopp when he was in Winnipeg. He was just kind of an every play. He could do a little bit of everything, and it doesn't quite look like he's been able to find that role with Detroit. Hopefully he can find it this season. That would be key. How about Kotkaniemi in Carolina? That guy, he had a fallback last season for sure. 79 games, 12 goals, 15 assists, 27 points. So with some of the exits out of Carolina, not a lot on the front end, but I mean, Tervo Teravainen is gone. That could potentially open up some more ice time for Kotkaniemi. Will that benefit him, or will it just be an all-out, just kind of a failed experiment for the Carolina Hurricanes when they stole him away from the Montreal Canadiens? And you know what? Looking back on that, the moment the Habs said, you know what? You take him. That's fine with us. That's way too much money. That was a big old red flag right there. If the other team is just willing to give him up like that, okay, there might be something wrong with this player. And so far, it hasn't brought a lot back for the Carolina Hurricanes. Let's go to Philadelphia with Sean Couturier. A very interesting season last year. I mean, getting called out by Tortorella, being benched as the captain. Not a good look, but I mean, sort of justified. 74 games, 11 goals, 27 assists, 38 points. Definitely need better than that out of your captain. And Logan Couture. Sean Couturier is a very important player for Philadelphia. When he missed those games and he came back in, it rejuvenated the Flyers, like noticeably when he came back. Because Couturier is another player that does a little bit of everything. He's offensively and defensively responsible. He's the captain. He's an important player to them, and they're going to want more than 38 points out of him. I think so. With all these players, these are all players that I believe can have a better season than they did. I think Couturier could do better than 38 points. Let's go to Edmonton, my boy Connor Brown. I mean, he only had 12 points last season. I think easily he can do better than that. 4 goals, 8 assists in 71 games. Let's triple that up, Connor. Let's get to 15 goals. Let's get to 35 to 40 points. I think Connor Brown can do it, man. As long as he's healthy. Connor Brown is an awesome player, man. I've been a fan of him since he was in Toronto. I hated the fact that they traded him away. I thought that was the wrong move, but you know, hindsight's 20/20, easy to say that. But Connor Brown, not a major piece, but an important piece for the Edmonton Oilers. Prove that in the playoffs. Let's talk about, let's go with Elias Pettersson. So 89 points. That's not really that bad of a season now, is it? 34 goals, 55 points, but especially in the eyes of Canucks fans, that was fucking terrible. How could you? Elias Pettersson only get 89 points? So people are expecting a bounce back, hoping for that 100-point tier for Elias Pettersson. I think he's hit the 100 points before. And yeah, last season he was dealing with some injuries that kind of just went under the radar, so it looks like he'll be coming back more healthy. Some additions to the team, adding in DeBrusk. Maybe there's some more offense out of the Canucks this season. But there's also that worry, it seemed like everyone outside of Pettersson kind of exceeded expectations on the team last year. So, in a perfect world, maybe just Pettersson elevates his game and everyone else stays the same. Or on the bad side, Pettersson could elevate his game and everyone else kind of falls back down to where they should be. So keep your eyes out on the Vancouver Canucks. Let's go to Buffalo. We got Tage Thompson. Tage Thompson, 50? I think he scored 50 or very close to 50 goals 2 years ago. And then last season, not the Tage Thompson we've seen for the last couple of years. 71 games, 29 goals, 27 assists, 56 points. That is like a 40-point drop-off from the season prior. And injuries. Injuries were a huge problem with Tage Thompson last season. He played a lot with the injuries, so that obviously affected his game. If he comes back in nice and healthy this year, you could see a huge bounce back from Tage Thompson. So, if Tage Thompson is still available in third, fourth, fifth round, might be a good idea to take a shot on him, because even in a bad season for him, he's still a good fantasy asset, and when he's rolling, he's one of the best players in the league. So, yeah, not a bad person to take a shot on. All right. I didn't think he had that bad of a season. He's hurt, so we can't really talk. Let's go to New Jersey. Oh, man, there's quite a few guys you could talk about in New Jersey. I mean, Timo Meier, he needs to be better. I have been all over Timo Meier ever since he got traded to New Jersey. I was like, I don't like that. Didn't like the contract he signed, and I have not liked the play of Timo Meier since he's gotten there. I mean, he just felt unnecessary, that trade to make. It just it just hasn't felt like a fit to me. But the other player is Andre Palat, which seemed like a slam dunk when they signed him, but injuries have really bothered Andre Palat. And last season, 71 games, 11 goals, 20 assists, 31 points. And you're going to want a lot more production out of a veteran player making like $5-something million right now. And hopefully he can get back up to a 50-ish point player, maybe hit that 20 goals, especially if the New Jersey Devils are a lot more healthy this season. That would go a long way. New goalies, improved defense. So hopefully that helps with the overall offense for players like Palat. Hopefully he can bounce back. All right, let's do Kakko on the Rangers. Kind of a regression last season with them. Only got into 61 games, 13 goals, 6 assists, 19 points. Not good, man. Not great. I mean, 13 goals isn't horrible in 61 games. You may have gotten to like 18 or something in a full year, maybe push for 20, but only 6 assists. I mean, he is struggling to produce offense in the NHL level, and he's kind of going backwards now, which is a bad sign. You don't want to see that with a prospect. We're seeing that with Kotkaniemi, where the offense is going up a little, and then backwards quite a bit. So going to be a lot of eyeballs on Kakko and what the potential future is. It looks like Lafreniere has gotten out of it. He seems to be fine now, but Kakko could potentially get traded this season. He could get moved out to, maybe make a little bit of room for the massive Shesterkin contract that's going to be coming in. So, definitely going to be a lot of eyes on Kakko. Let's talk about Barrett Hayton for the Utah Hockey Club. This guy, 2 seasons. So last season was injury riddled. He only got into 33 games. And then when he came back, wasn't very good. Got 3 goals, 7 assists, 10 points in 33 games. But prior to that season, he had an outstanding chemistry with Clayton Keller and Schmaltz on a line. That line was one of the most effective offensive lines in the NHL 2 seasons ago. And for some reason, probably because of injuries, they couldn't find that chemistry again last season when Hayton got back in. Schmaltz and Keller were still fine. Their chemistry still stands strong, but they need a center there. So, and Barrett Hayton could be that center. This guy was drafted 5th overall, so there's something here. There's definitely something there. Hopefully injuries will not prevent Barrett Hayton from becoming that 5th overall player. I would love for this to be the season for him to get it together in a new environment. Very exciting times for Utah. Barrett Hayton could be the guy to watch out for. All right, Calgary. We'll throw him out there again. Huberdeau. 81 games, 12 goals, 40 assists, 52 points. Not terrible, but when you're making $10+ million, not good enough. Huberdeau, at minimum, needs to get back to a point-a-game player to justify that contract, and I don't really know if he can do it this season either. It would, you got to get some of those young guys. Coronado's got to take another step. Those forwards got to take another step, man, and it's going to be tough. Huberdeau's another year older. Kadri's another year older. Hopefully Sharon Govich can continue what was a fantastic season last year with Calgary, but Huberdeau has to get it going, man. It's been, 2-3 years now since he's gotten here, and it's been bad. It's been bad, and I gave him so much leeway. I was like, oh, it's okay. He's coming to a new conference, and then we got to a whole season. I was like, all right, this is getting ridiculous, and now it's been multiple years of this, and yikes. So hopefully Huberdeau at some point will get to that 80+ point player that we need him to be. All right, who else do we got? Rupe Hintz of Dallas. Let's talk about him. 80 games last year, 30 goals, 35 assists, 65 points. Now, I feel like he got into less games than that. I don't know if he got into 80 games. That doesn't sound right to me. But regardless, with Rupe Hintz missing time and maybe having a slow start to the season, that definitely affected Jason Robertson's season as well. Jason Robertson, with a fully healthy Rupe Hintz, had 115 points. With Rupe Hintz not being healthy as his center, he fell down to 80-something points, and Rupe Hintz also fell down as well. Now, 30 goals, 35 assists, that's not bad, but he was 40 goals, 80-something points the year prior. So I think Rupe Hintz and Jason Robertson are going to get back to the way that they were. Be looking for Jason Robertson to hit that 100-point mark, and maybe even Rupe Hintz could get close to that as well. Hopefully he can get back to that 40-goal range. Should be good for that. All right, let's talk about, what's his first name? Ricard Raquel in Pittsburgh. So quite the drastic drop-off. He had a good year the first season in Pittsburgh. He had like 65 points or something like that. He was good. And then last season, not so much. It looks like 70 games, 15 goals, 22 assists, 37 points. And for the amount of money that he's making, that's not good enough production. You need to get back to that 50, 60-point range. Maybe he gets more playing time with Crosby and or Malkin. I imagine he is already playing in that top six, but health obviously is a big situation with Rickard Rakell. Doesn't usually make it through a full season without some injuries, but hopefully he can bounce back this year. For the Pittsburgh Penguins' sake, he needs to. Let's talk about Max Domi in Toronto. I think without a doubt this guy's going to be bouncing back for a lot more than 9 goals. Last season, 80 games, 9 goals, 38 assists, 47 points. I think Max Domi has that potential to get back to the 60, maybe even 70-point range. I would expect in and around 15 to 20 goals for Max Domi this season and pushing 50-plus assists. This guy is a dynamite passer. And what was the problem with Domi last year is that they didn't know what line to put him on. They tried him with Kampf. That was a disaster. Eventually, they got him on the right line. I think he was playing with Matthews and or Tavares, one of the big boys, and shit started working. So now they're going to have that already set in place. He's going to play with the right players this season, and his offense should, I won't say explode, but it should definitely, hopefully looking for like a 20, 25-point increase over what he did. He better. He's making a lot more money now. Well, not a lot more, but he's making more money. All right, let's go. Let's talk about Anders Lee. You know what? Let's talk Anders Lee. I drafted this guy last season. He's always been a very good, consistent goal scorer up until last season when I drafted him. He still hit 20 goals, which is good, but 37 points overall in 81 games. And honestly, Anders Lee was immensely snake-bitten last season. He should have had, I feel like he was rather, not, if he wasn't at the top of the list, he was like in the top 10 of goals expected that didn't go in. So he should have had a lot more goals according to some of the chances that he had last season. He probably should have been a 30-goal scorer again, but last season was just wasn't his year, man. He did not have that puck working his way last season, and he was one of those very frustrating players in fantasy last year where he was crazily inconsistent, where he would go cold for 5-6 games and then have an explosion, and you're like, oh, all right, Anders Lee is back, baby. Then you pick him up and he goes silent for 4 games. You drop him. He has another big game. One of those guys, but I'm expecting and hoping for more consistency out of Anders Lee. Now that they have Patrick Waugh back there for a full season, he's not coming in halfway through. I think you should hopefully get more out of Anders Lee this season. And a little bit mean, but let's talk about, what's this for? Shane Norris? Derek Norris? Something Norris. I don't know. Josh Norris in Ottawa. So injuries was a big problem for his season last year. 50 games he only got into. Looks like 16 goals, 14 assists, and 30 points. Norris is a 30-plus goal guy for Ottawa when fully healthy, so if he is fully healthy for Ottawa this season, I would expect him to get back to that 30-goal range, 30, 35 assists, 60, 65 points. Sounds good for Josh Norris, and if Ottawa is going to make the playoffs, he's going to be a big part of that, so they're going to need him to stay healthy. And yeah, I think that should do it for enough bounce-back candidates. Not every single team, but a good amount. Because some of the players on this list are just like, they don't really need to be discussed. I mean, they have one for San Jose, Logan Couture. He only got into 6 games last season, so it's a guarantee that the guy's going to bounce back and have a better season than a 6-game season. But that's also really important for San Jose to get, the captain back. But Logan Couture now is going to be shepherding the likes of Will Smith and Macklin Celebrini, the next big centers for that team. So it's going to be important to have Logan Couture back in the roster, playing in the lineup with the young kids so that he can show them what's up. So yeah, I think that's everything that I got for this episode. I did see that they did put out their 32 bold predictions. Maybe we should look into that because the next episode, the season will be under the way. Hold on now. Let me go look at it. Oh, fuck yeah. We're doing this. Sportsnet has their 32 bold predictions, one for each team. This is always one of my favorite, if not my favorite article to read each year because these are a lot of fun. So let's go through them. Anaheim Ducks, a team that finished with 2 20-goal scorers last season, will have 7 20-goal scorers on their team this year. Nope, not happening. Boston Bruins, a career year. Charlie McAvoy results in a Norris Trophy win. Oh, man, I do think that Charlie McAvoy has been a little bit underrated when it comes to those Norris Trophy conversations. Just because he doesn't put up the points that other guys have been, he is a fantastic defenseman. Very gritty. I would love to have him on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Absolutely love that. I don't think I see a Norris in his future this season, but I hope he gets one at some point. But not this year. Buffalo Sabres. 4 of the Sabres' top 6 forwards, Tage Thompson, Tuck, Quinn, Peterka, will exceed 30 goals. Okay. Definitely questionable on Jack Quinn and Peterka. Quinn could potentially. I could see that. Yeah, that's not too crazy. That one I can actually get behind. Calgary Flames. Despite a strong rookie season from Dustin Wolf, the Flames will finish near the bottom of the league and draft in the top 3 for the first time since moving to Calgary from Atlanta 45 years ago. Honestly, not that bold of a prediction. I have very low expectations for the Calgary Flames. With the draft lottery, why not? Why couldn't they slip down into that top 3 pick? Sure, I can get behind that one as well. Carolina Hurricanes. Seth Jarvis will become just the 3rd player wearing a Carolina Hurricanes uniform to register 40 goals. And then Andrei Svechnikov will become the 4th following Eric Stahl and Jeff O'Neill. So, expecting 2 40-goal scorers out of the Carolina Hurricanes this season. I have been waiting for Andrei Svechnikov to pop off for that type of season for quite some time. Seth Jarvis, he had a fantastic season last year. He could build on that with a big new contract. I mean, there's going to be more offensive time for those 2 players. I don't think they're going to get it. I don't think they're going to get that. No, I don't think Carolina will have both. I think maybe one of them could. And if it is going to be someone, I'm picking Svechnikov. Chicago Blackhawks. Piggybacking off Connor Bedard's progress, Taylor Hall will have his best season since winning the 2018 MVP, finishing with a line of 25 goals. Finishing with a line of 25, 40, and 65, so 65 points? Oh, okay. So they're not. I thought they were saying that he would exceed his best season ever, where he had like almost 100 points. No fucking way. But yeah, I could see him in a fully healthy season, 82 games, 65 points for Taylor Hall with Connor Bedard. Yeah, I can see that. No problem. Colorado. Justus Annunen will be the Avs' undisputed starter by mid-November and never look back, posting a .917 save percentage this season. Goalies are so tough. He was really good looking last season in that limited role. Outside of Georgiev, I think the money they're paying him, I think they're going to want him to be playing. I think they're going to force him to play. So, no. But I do think Justus Annunen will at some point be the starter once they're done with Georgiev. Columbus. The Jackets' first goal of the season will be scored by Sean Monahan at 13:13 of the first period, and there won't be a dry eye inside or outside the building. I love that prediction. That would be haunting a little bit for it to happen like that, but I do think that the first goal that Sean Monahan scores, that will be an emotional moment for Columbus. So yeah, I get behind that. I don't know if it's going to happen at 13:13. That would be kind of scary, but that would also be really cool. Dallas. The all-in stars will bite down and trade from an area of strength, their young forwards, to address an area of need, the right side of defense, and deal Maverick Bourque to the Flames for Rasmus Anderson. Oh my goodness. I would love that. I would love that for both teams. I love Rasmus Anderson, but to see him go and flourish in Dallas and probably win a cup, that would be so sick. And for the Flames to bring back Maverick Bourque, why not? I'm down. Detroit. The Wings will continue to push for playoffs actions, or continue to push for playoffs, or playoff action by acquiring local boy Cam Fowler to bolster the defense. Fowler can slide into a second pair role with Detroit thanks to the step forward Simone Edvidson is about to have in his first full NHL campaign. That would be so sick for the for the Red Wings. That'd be a great move for the Ducks, helping out Cam Fowler. But again, that's not a guarantee team that Fowler would make the playoffs. But if that is his hometown team, that would be such an awesome fit, man. Like, oh, that'd be a fun team to watch. You get Cam Fowler, Patrick Kane, the young guys, Seider and Raymond, Dylan Larkin. Shit, I want that to happen. So yeah, let's do it. Edmonton. Jeff Skinner, the 2011 Rookie of the Year, will score 2 goals in his first career NHL playoff game. Oh, fuck yeah. I don't know about 2 goals, but I think Jeff Skinner is going to be a good player in the playoffs, man. I think he's going to kill it. Florida Panthers. 2 Panthers will have 20-goal swings. Sam Reinhart will drop from 57 goals to 37, while Matthew Tkachuk will spike from 26 to 46 goals. All right. Yeah, I mean, I drafted Sam Reinhart and expecting him not to score 57 goals again. Down to 37, I feel like it's a bit drastic. I think he's still going to be in the 40-goal range. But yeah, I 100% agree that Tkachuk is going to jump the fuck back up from 26 back into that 40-goal range. So yeah, I'm pretty behind that. Los Angeles Kings. The Kings won't lose to the Oilers in the first round of the playoffs because ongoing goaltending issues will cause them to miss the second wild card by a single point. Oh, snap. That's a good one. They got me with that. I thought they were going to say they're going to make it in the playoffs and then win, beating the Oilers, but no, they're saying they're not even going to make the playoffs because their goaltending's going to suck. Interesting. That I can absolutely see. Absolutely. And on top of that, they're also throwing away the 1-3-1 system. So, yeah, their goaltending could take a hit this season from that. Minnesota Wild. Zeev Buium, drafted 12th overall in June, will sign with the Wild after his college season ends and immediately make it clear Minnie is set up for on the back end for 15 years with Brock Faber on the right and Buium on the left. All right, I don't know anything about that player, so I won't get behind it on that. But shit, that sounds exciting. Montreal Canadiens, the Habs, have a 31-year cup drought. That will continue. Believe it or not, they also have a 52-year Calder Trophy drought. That will end with Lane Hutson putting together Montreal's first Rookie of the Year campaign since Ken Dryden in 72. Wow. I hope so for the sake of my fantasy team because I picked Lane Hutson with a super late pick and that would make me look like a fucking genius. So for that, I would love for that to happen. But man, he would have to have a fucking hell of a rookie campaign to take out the likes of Michkov and Macklin Celebrini. So that is putting a lot on Lane Hutson. So I will say no to that one. But I hope it happens. Nashville Predators, Philip Forsberg will become the first 50-goal scorer in franchise history by hitting the number bang on. Jonathan Marchessault will score exactly half that many in his first year with the Preds, and Steven Stamkos will more or less split the difference with 37 goals. So 50 for Forsberg, 25 for Marchessault, and 37 goals for Stamkos. I think you're pushing a little bit too much for Forsberg. I think 50 is too much. I think 30 goals for Marchessault, and I think I like the sound of 37 out of Stamkos. That sounds pretty good to me. Yeah, pretty good prediction, I'd say there. New Jersey, Jack Hughes will record 130 points and be a Hart and Ted Lindsay finalist. As long as he's healthy, absolutely. Yep, I can 100% believe that, but if he's not healthy, nope. All right, New York Islanders. Despite some concern around his health, Ilya Sorokin will be just fine. So fine, in fact, he'll secure the Vezina trophy with a stellar second half of the season. Oh, buddy, I hope so, because I picked Sorokin in my fantasy, so I hope he bounces back. He's also a bounce-back candidate for me, even though he didn't even have that bad of a season. He had like a 9-10 save percentage, but that's bad in Sorokin's books, so hopefully he bounces back. I don't know about a Vezina, but fuck, that'd be so sick. New York Rangers. The now or never Rangers will send Capo Caco to the Jets as part of a package to obtain Nikolai Ehlers. Honestly, I don't think that's enough for Winnipeg to send off Nikolai Ehlers. I think, honestly, Rangers would have to sweeten that pot a little bit. Honestly, I don't think Capo Caco would be enough for Nikolai Ehlers, honestly. So you sweeten that pot a little bit, throw in a first, maybe a second or something like that. I think then that would be enough. Ottawa Senators. Brady Tkachuk will improve his goal total by 10 to 47 goals, netting one more than his brother at 46. That's funny. But no bold prediction that the Ottawa Senators will make the playoffs. So, they're just going to stick with some more goals by Brady Tkachuk, which I think is a pretty safe bet. So, yeah, I'm good with that. Philadelphia Flyers. Cam York and Jamie Drysdale will both become 50-point defensemen. I don't know about this year, but I could see Jamie Drysdale, if he stays healthy, I think at some point, yeah, he could be. I don't know if they have the forward offense just yet for them to both produce 50 points on the back end. That would be quite a lot, so I will say no. Pittsburgh Penguins. This old, brittle lineup will buckle, and the Pens will tumble down the standings. The silver lining, though, is 20 years after drafting Sidney Crosby, Pittsburgh's lottery luck will strike again, and the Pens will draft first overall in 2025. Oh, honestly, I don't think Dubas and the Penguins will allow them to get themselves that bad. So no, I don't think that's going to happen. San Jose Sharks, but hold on, back to the Penguins. I think they will miss the playoffs, though. I don't think they'll be that bad. All right, San Jose. Summer acquisition, Jake Wallman will be given all kinds of ice time and score 20 goals from the back end. I mean, it wouldn't be horribly shocking if he does, because I think he had like 10 or 15 goals last year in a limited role with Detroit. So honestly, I was rather confused when Detroit moved off of Jake Wallman. I mean, that would be a pretty bad thing for Detroit if he does end up scoring 20 goals or something like that with San Jose. I think that's a stretch, so I will say no. Seattle Kraken. Shane Wright will show why he was the 4th overall pick in 2022. Again, I don't think that's that bold. It looks like this would be the season that Shane Wright could get into a regular spot in the NHL. St. Louis Blues. Robert Thomas will record his first 100-point season. Ooh. Okay, so there's a lot of hype and just great things being said about Robert Thomas over like this last year or so. Like almost every hockey podcast that I listen to, when they get to St. Louis, it is just all sorts of compliments and praise towards Robert Thomas. He's a fantastic player. He is definitely one of the more underrated ones, an excellent passer, and he can score goals. He just doesn't shoot it as much as he should. 100 points this year? I don't know about that. I think Robert Thomas could potentially hit 100 points at some point, not this year. Tampa Bay, the Bolts will win the Atlantic Division with 107 points thanks to a strong bounce-back year from Andre Vasilevsky and a seamless fit with Jake Gensel. I can 100% see that happening. I'm fine with that. Toronto Maple Leafs, all the crease concentration will be for naught. Oh, hold on. All the crease consternation, the fuck, will be for naught. Joseph Woll and Anthony Stolarz will prove to be one of the best duos in the league. There you go. I think that could absolutely happen as long as Joseph Woll is healthy. From what I've seen, yeah, dude. And from the track record of Anthony Stolarz still being, in my opinion, one of the most underrated players in the entire league. This guy is a fucking stud. I was so happy when they got Stolarz. I was like, that, and for that price, I was stunned. So, yeah, man, I could see that happening. It is the Leafs, though, so when something can go wrong, it will go wrong. So, I hope that happens, though. Utah Hockey Club will make the playoffs. Repeat, Utah Hockey Club will make the playoffs. Honestly, I don't think it's all that crazy with the new environment, all that hype, big new building to play in, all these new ravenous fans, the additions that they made with Sergachev and other things. I don't think it would be all that crazy if they did make it. I still don't think they will, but I would love it. We get Vancouver Canucks newcomer Jake DeBrusk will set a career high with 35 goals. I think every Vancouver Canuck fan would love that, and every Bruins fan would hate that. I don't think it's going to happen. I would expect more around the 25 goal mark for Jake DeBrusk. Vegas Golden Knights. After scraping into the 2024 Stanley Cup playoffs as a wild card team, the Golden Knights, with Noah Hanifin and Thomas Hertl getting full seasons in Vegas, and a healthy Shea Theodore helping or having a huge bounce back year, will surge back up the standings and finish with 111 points, one less than the Edmonton Oilers for top spot in the Pacific. So expecting a strong bounce back from Vegas. Again, health plays a major role in what happens with the Vegas Golden Knights this season. Same thing that it did last year. They have a ton of injury-riddled players on their team. Eichel, Theodore, Mark Stone, everybody, man. Everybody gets hurt on Vegas, so injuries are going to play a big role in that. If they're healthy, absolutely. They're going to be a powerhouse team. I think the additions of, who's that guy that they stole from New Jersey? Holtz or whatever. That guy could be huge for them. So, yeah, I don't think Vegas Golden Knights are out of it just yet. Washington Capitals. Alexander Ovechkin will leave us all hanging by scoring 40 goals this year, putting him 1 goal behind Wayne Gretzky's all-time mark of 894 heading into next season. Fuck, that is something. I'm of the mind that Ovi will be better this year than he was last season, because it seemed like injuries were a big problem with him. Down the back half, he seemed to have gotten healthy and was playing great. I don't think he will. My buddy Billy, he believes that he will break the record this season. I still think it's going to happen next year. I don't think it's going to get that close. I think Ovi's going to get into the 30-goal range. If he hits 40, awesome. I ain't bitching. I don't think if he got that close, he wouldn't leave us. There would be a mission to get Ovi that final goal and get it done. So no, I don't think that will happen. I think Ovi breaks the record next season. Winnipeg Jets, the final bold prediction. Gabe Vilardi plays all 82 games and scores 35 goals. It's a tough one. Vilardi's been dealing with injuries for quite some time, but yeah, if he's fully healthy, this guy absolutely has the talent to score 30-plus goals with Winnipeg. If he's healthy. That's always the big outlier. Health is important. So there you go, everybody. One of my favorite articles to read of the season, that's Sportsnet's One Bold Prediction for All 32 Teams by Ryan Dixon. There you go, everybody. Awesome. I love those. Not the most wildest bold predictions out there. There's definitely been some more bold predictions made in the past, but I love that article. Super fun. Makes you think. Makes you wonder, and it definitely gets me excited for the season that's right around the corner. Oh my God, we're so close. There we go, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. In terms of what else we got going on with the GX Plus cast this week, we are now in the month of October, which means spooky, scary season. So on the GamerCast, I'm doing all horror video games, trying to watch as many horror movies as well so I can talk about horror movies throughout the month of October. So far, so good. I am ahead of schedule of where I want to be with all the plans that I have for the month. So far, so good. Got a bunch of episodes ready to go. So yeah, be on the lookout for all these scary, spooky themed episodes for the GamerCast this October. The WrestleCast, we got a Bad Blood pay-per-view this weekend, so there'll be an extra pay-per-view review alongside your regular weekly recap of WWE and AEW wrestling. I did recently just cut out AEW's Rampage from the weekly recap because it just sucks, honestly. I am tired of watching it. I can't watch it no more. I can't do it. It's just not worth my time. So it's been cut, canceled, done. Anyway. Outside of that, no, I'm pretty sure next episode of the HockeyCast, the regular season will begin. We'll be there. I think that Wednesday will be the Leafs' first game. Not the home opener. Home opener's on the weekend, but I'll be watching their first game against the Montreal Canadiens. I cannot fucking wait. I am so excited, and hopefully you guys are as well. And there's some other stuff to throw out, some other plugs. Got a Twitter page you can follow along with. All the links are in the description. Upload all of these episodes to the YouTube channel, GamerGX Videos. You can watch them over there. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. And a great place if you want to have a question answered live on the podcast, anything about wrestling, hockey, or video games, drop a comment on the YouTube channel. Send a question in on Twitter. Or there's an email address as well if you want to have a private conversation. My door is open for everyone and anyone. There we go, everybody. Thank you once again for listening or watching the GX Plus, guys.